Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Steph, and if you're new here, I'm Steph. We are on episode 9 of Read It Down, which is wild to say that I am almost done with the first installment of this series. I've read so many books for this series, so it's definitely accomplished the goal, which is to read my own TBR. So if you don't know, Read It Down is a series that I do on my channel where I ask one of my booktube friends to pick 2 books off of my physical TBR. So I send them pictures, they pick 2 books, and then I get the choice of the 3rd book because I am a mood reader. And if I don't finish all 3 books within the month that they are selected, then I am on a book buying ban. Let's talk about the guest for episode 9. So this month we have Darian, and I'm so excited. Although Darian and I have very opposite reading tastes, I'm still excited to see what she'll pick for me. Darian is one of those people that I've known for a while. I think I knew her pretty close to me starting BookTube, and I've always just thought she was very funny, and I love her vlogs, so I think that you should check those out if you were looking for vlogs. She's also currently in library school, so it's really fun to talk about because I am a librarian, so it's always fun to talk to somebody who's going through the school process. So my guesses for Darian are, just right off the bat, I have 3 that come to mind very quickly. It's Loveless by Alice Oseman, or Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, or Blood Scion. And the reason for those are because A, she bought me Blood Scion for my birthday, and she read it, and I think she gave it like 4 or 5 stars, so she really liked it. Radio Silence and Loveless because she is a big fan of Heartstopper, so I feel like she would want to push that agenda in any way that she possibly could. Therefore, Alice Oseman, the 2 Alice Osemans that I own. I'm going with that. I'm not even gonna try to guess any other ones because I am genuinely so confident that I have gotten 2 books. Like, I am so confident. I don't know why. I was like, yes, Blood Scion has to be. She got it for me. She's gonna want me to read it, right? Makes sense. But Alice Oseman, if I have to guess between the 2 that she's gonna pick, I will say Loveless. It just makes sense in my brain. This is just coming together in a way that makes sense. Okay, let's watch what she picked.
Hello, my angel Steph. Thank you so much for including me in your Read It Down series. I am so honored, and I took choosing my books very seriously because I want to win. So I took my time, and I think I made the good decisions. We'll see. So the first book I chose for you is probably the more obvious one because it's one of my favorite books ever, and that is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I just love this book so much. It's one of my favorite books, like I just said, and it just means so much to me, partly because there is a sexual rep in this book, and also the way it depicts depression really resonated with me. And I don't know how anyone can read this and not love the characters. So I really hope that you read it and love the characters too. And I hope that it means a lot to you. And if you hate it, then I might cry, but hopefully you won't. So there's that one. The other book that I have chosen for you is one that you may have gotten very recently for your birthday. And that book is Blood Scion by Deborah Fillette. I read this obviously very recently because it came out this year, and I just have a feeling that you're really gonna like it. It's very different from Radio Silence. It is very violent and very gory, so just be prepared, but I think you're fine with stuff like that. But again, the characters in this book are what makes it for me, especially the main character, Sloane. I just have a feeling that you're gonna love her. She is quite a girl boss. So those are your 2 picks. I hope you love them. And if you don't, then I tried my best. And yeah, so, okay, goodbye, I love you, bye.
Well, well, well. Look who was correct. I mean, I feel like Blood Scion was a very obvious choice only because she did get it for me for my birthday, which thank you so much, Darian. I appreciate you getting this for me. And Radio Silence, I wasn't as confident on this one, obviously, because I did think it would be Loveless, but I'm really excited to try this out. I'm not confident about how much this will hit me like it hit Darian, I guess, only because I have been struggling with YA, and so that's like also a fear with this book as well is that I've been struggling pretty hard with YA, more specifically YA fantasy. YA contemporaries are a little bit different. I have sometimes an easier time getting into a YA contemporary, especially if it's a queer coming of age. So I'm excited about this. I've actually really been wanting to read Radio Silence, and more recently I've had like the urge to read this book. So I'm so happy that you picked this one. All I know about Radio Silence is that you have, I think it's 2 main characters. One of them is about to go into college, and then one of them is a podcast host, and they develop this really amazing friendship. And I know that it's supposed to depict depression, but a lot of people really hold this up as like one of the best coming of age novels, especially for somebody transitioning from high school to college. So that'll be interesting because I'm so far removed from high school and just my academic life in general. I've tried to just block that out really hard, and I think I've been pretty successful about it, so we'll see. Hello, good morning. It's Friday, which means that it's cleaning day, but I'm also doing laundry today. You know, Fridays are normally my productive days, which is good because last Friday I could not be bothered because of a migraine, and that migraine spilled over into this week, and like I went home early one day because of my migraine. I ended up not being able to get out of bed like yesterday because of the migraine, but today I'm feeling all right. So while I've been cleaning, I've been listening to Fool's Errand. It's so good to be back. It's so good to be back with Fitz. Like, as soon as I started this audiobook, I was like, yes, yes, this is what I've been longing for. I mean, I loved the Live Ship Trader trilogy a lot. It was amazing, but in very different ways. I don't know, I really loved that one. So far I've loved both of the trilogies in the realm of the Elderlings, but just being back with Fitz and like seeing how he's changed. So anyway, I'm like 170 something pages into it, and you're hearing his story about basically what has been going on in his life since the end of Assassin's Quest. And it's just sad because without spoilers or anything, he's just talking about what is the purpose of his life, and I'm like, Fitz, please. One of the things I wanted to say is that I've actually seen it go around that people were saying, you know, if you didn't want to read the Live Ship Trader trilogy, you can just skip it and move on to this. And like, in theory, yes, you can do that, but there are so many little callbacks to the Live Ship Trader trilogy that I feel you would be missing out on just little things, like little important things. But I've also heard that the further you get into this series, the more important it becomes to have read all of the trilogies and the quartet. All I'm saying is I'm just really excited to be back. Although once I finish this trilogy, that means that I have to go into the Rainwild Chronicles, and I'm not looking forward to that at all because I see nothing but bad reviews for it. Like across the board, people don't like it. So that is the tragedy of once I'm done with this, I have to go into the Rainwild Chronicles. Anyway, I'm gonna go finish laundry and keep listening to Fool's Errand, and then I will update you when I have any more thoughts. I mean, I can't say too much about my thoughts on Fool's Errand because it is the 7th book in the series. So it's gonna be hard for me to give you my full thoughts on things, but I will try. And I will keep it spoiler free, obviously. But yeah, I'm gonna keep listening and do laundry and whatever else.
Woke up wanting you beside me. I don't know what else to say. Ain't no particular reason, just hit by your wave. Maybe I'll grab a cup of coffee and listen to our favorite song. I'm such an idiot, I'm pathetic, thought I was moving on. I don't want anybody, I want you. I miss your olive skin, I miss my muse. So if you wanna find me, make a move. I'll send a telepathic message with my coordinates to you. Patiently waiting.
Good morning. So I finished Fool's Errand a couple days ago, actually. and it was just pure pain. It was just pure pain. So I didn't even want to update at the time because I was crying and in pain. I mean, I think that kind of goes without saying with Robin Hobb, is that you're going to get something probably tragic in every single book, or something that like makes you upset in every single book. And I do think that in this one, it was leading up to that moment. It was heavily alluded to the entire book that this thing was going to happen, but it was pretty sad. Obviously and sadly, I can't go into too much detail about this book or really my thoughts and feelings about this book, other than like I gave it 5 stars. It was really nice being back in Fitz's perspective. I really missed him as a character, and I didn't realize it until we got into his perspective, and I was like, oh, I'm so happy to be back. At this point, he's much older. He's in his 40s, so it's really interesting hearing about his life since the end of the Farseer trilogy. So you do get to hear about like what he's been up to, and you see him in this present time in his 40s and like what's happening. But much like the Farseer trilogy and the old Fitz we know and love, there's a lot of sadness within him as a person and viewing his life. So I think that was very present in here. But if you don't know, the Farseer trilogy, which is the first trilogy where you are introduced into Fitz, it is also the trilogy that I personally, and I think a lot of other people, recommend if you're trying to get into the Realm of the Elderling, because the Realm of the Elderling is made up of 5 different series, 4 of which are trilogies, and then 1 is a quartet. So there is 2 ways to start this whole journey of reading the Realm of the Elderlings, and one is by starting the Farseer trilogy, which is my recommendation, and then some people start with the Live Ship Trader trilogy. I can see starting with that, but I do feel like it's a better payoff if you read the Farseer trilogy and then the Live Ship Trader trilogy, because there are some like hidden gems that you wouldn't pick up on if you hadn't started with the Farseer trilogy. But getting back to the point, if you want to know what the Farseer trilogy is about, the trilogy that starts it all, you are introduced to our main character Fitz, who you also see in Fool's Errand. And Fitz at the time is like 6 years old, and you find out that he is the royal bastard. So Prince Chivalry, who is the king in waiting, ended up having a bastard, and instead of facing the consequences of that, he flees with his wife and kind of abdicates the throne to his younger brother Verity. Meanwhile, people don't really know what to do with Fitz, so Fitz is given into the stable master's hands, Burrich, who was also very close to Chivalry, so he is kind of shocked by this whole situation, but he ends up taking in Fitz because of who Chivalry was to him. And then Chivalry's father, who is the king currently, realizes that he could better use Fitz as an assassin. So this spurs the rest of the story, where Fitz is training to be an assassin, and different shenanigans that happen. I personally love the Farseer trilogy. I love being in Fitz's perspective. I know some people don't like being in Fitz's perspective, but I'm very, very attached to Fitz. Very early on in that series, I became attached to a couple different characters in there, and it just like Royal Assassin is my favorite book of that trilogy, and it becomes even worse in that book, like how attached I got to some of these characters and the decisions that they make. I mean, Robin Hobb is nothing if not tragic. So there's a lot of tragedy that happens. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Even though this update is long as hell already, I did start Blood Scion, and I'm like 80 pages into it. I don't really have an opinion one way or another. It's already starting to feel like a YA that I've read before. And I fear this in general with YA these days, because that's just how it feels to me. But that is absolutely a me thing. But something did just recently happen that I thought was really interesting, and I think could spur some things within this book that make it feel different. And I'm not trying to say that all YA fantasy is the same. I just feel like there are a lot of tropes in YA fantasies these days that sell, and so they continue to be written, which is why I've kind of strayed away from YA fantasy these days. But I've heard really good things about the ending of this, so I'm excited to get a little deeper into it. I'm gonna try to spend today reading the majority of it, because like Libby says at 80 pages, I'm almost 20% into this book, and I guess I am. I just thought it was like longer. Oh, I guess it's 415 pages. I thought it was like 600 pages. Okay, Well, hello. So I'm playing Animal Crossing because I finally settled on a theme for my island and I've been like doing little builds here and there. But while I do that, I've been reading Blood Scion. I'm currently 75% in, and I had a thought randomly about this book because at this point, I'm definitely more into it. I really think it's well written. It feels like a 4 stars. It definitely feels like a YA book that I would totally recommend to people who have been struggling with YA but want to continue trying to read YA. Like, this is definitely one of those books that I would recommend. But I think it brings up an interesting conversation about YA, which we constantly have these conversations. This is nothing new. This is not like groundbreaking, but this book doesn't know what it wants to be in terms of target audience, because I feel like the themes of this and the brutality that's in here could lend itself very well to an adult fantasy. And this is the thing with YA, right? Is that publishers often push YA more than adult fantasy because YA is very popular right now, but also YA spans such a large age range and people always argue about what that range should look like. Does it actually stop at 18, or are we considering young adults also people in their 20s? And if that's what we're considering it as, then like that's a huge age range and that's a huge range of possibilities in what you can write. I think Throne of Glass is a great example of a series that can be both, because I think the beginning part of Throne of Glass feels very traditionally YA, and then the later half of the Throne of Glass series starts to border more into adult fantasy. And like, that makes a lot of sense with the series itself, the character itself. I think that Selena starts out at like 17 or 18, and then obviously years are going by, so she's probably by the end of the series in her 20s. Don't quote me on that. I don't actually remember. My point being is the series oftentimes grows with the readers, so obviously tones and themes are going to change. So my point being is this book I think would have lended itself better as an adult fantasy. But because this is YA, I think it's having like an identity crisis for me, and there's parts of it that are really brutal and I'm like, damn, this is intense. Not that YAs can't be intense, it's not really my point of this conversation. I just think that there are some things that are lost in this book that could have been done better if it would have been an adult fantasy and had a longer page length. So it makes me wonder if this was placed into YA because of the age range of the characters. My point being is I don't think it's a matter of like something is too gory or too sexual to be YA. That's not really what I'm getting at. I think that what happens is something does have gory themes or maybe adult themes, but they water it down for a YA audience. It doesn't make sense to water it down. And the funny thing is I think that this book actually is less watered down than some of the other YAs that I've read that definitely could have lended themselves to being adult. Things get watered down when they already feel like an adult fantasy, and so why can't we just go there? Why can't we just put these authors in adult fantasy? That was my poor discussion on a thought that I had randomly while reading Blood Scion. I'm just gonna give you my full thoughts and feelings about it when I finish it, since I'm only like 15% away from finishing it. But yeah, this is feeling like a 4 stars. I like it.
The rest of my day went to shit. Wrote a song, but no one's listening to it. It's only times like these when I want you back in my room. Make me feel wanted and a little less confused. I'm swimming laps across some memories. I reach the end and circle back, watching reruns of our story while I'm lying on my back. I don't want anybody, I want you. I never talk about it, don't talk to you. But if you wanna find me, here's your excuse. I'll send a telepathic message with my coordinates to you. I'm right where you left me, impatiently waiting. I'm right where you left
was really craving a hot chocolate, so I was like, hell yeah, let's make this hot chocolate. And then I drank it and now I'm unwell. I really regret this decision, but am I gonna finish it? Yeah. Anyway, hi. I thought that I gave my review of Blood Scion, and then I was looking for the clips. I was looking for the footage and I couldn't find it. And I realized that the only thing that I gave an update on was like when I was 70% or something like that through it. So like in my brain, I was so close to being done that my review for it was the final review, but it was not. So I feel like I'm gonna struggle talking about this book. So my overall rating for Blood Scion is 3.5. I did initially give it a 3.5 when I first read it, but now we're 2 weeks away from me reading it and I don't remember really anything about this book. I think one of the things that's super telling for me as a reader is if I don't connect to the characters, I rarely remember anything about them, including their names, which is why sometimes, probably oftentimes, you'll hear me say that I don't remember the name, which is not a good trait for me, you know? But they do say that you only have room for so many names in your brain. I don't know if that's true. I read that one time, probably on Instagram. But what made it initially a 3.5 stars for me is that I really loved the world building. I thought the world in here was so interesting. The gods were very interesting. The Blood Scion aspect / the magical aspect in this world is very, very interesting. And it almost makes me want to move on with the series because I'm so intrigued by the world here and the Blood Scion magic, which you only get a little peek into in this book. So obviously in the next book, and I think it's a trilogy, the third book, you'll probably be getting such great detail about the Blood Scions and like the magic in this world in general. But because I don't care about the characters, like a lot of the plot is lost on me. And also I feel like there's a lot of relationships in here that don't feel authentic to me. Like they don't, I don't know. I just wasn't like rooting for certain relationships to happen. But the problem I have with YA, and again, it's been a while since I did like my other updates on this. I don't remember if I talked about this. I don't like these forced relationships that don't make sense. And so that happens in this book. And I'm not gonna spoil anything about who it is or anything like that. It's just, the relationship didn't feel organic. It was almost like, where did this come from? This just feels so out of left field. And then suddenly they're like, I love you type of territory. But I think on top of the fact that like I wasn't really connected to the characters, this romance just solidified even more for me that maybe this is just a YA thing and it's not for me. And I feel like I'm a broken record, but like I'm not the intended audience. So the synopsis of this book is that we follow our main character Sloane, and Sloane is a Blood Scion, but in this particular world, Blood Scions have to hide their identities, otherwise they will get killed. And because there's a lot of anti-magic, there is this army, and at the age of 15, most people are recruited into this army. So Sloane is just turning 15. She gets recruited into this army, so she's basically a child soldier along with other child soldiers, and they're training, and she kind of works her way up in the ranks, and she's hoping that as she works her way up, she will be able to destroy the system from within, especially because she's a Blood Scion and she's been able to hide it. She thinks that she can use her powers to kind of destroy the system in and of itself and maybe have people help her along the way. The problem is that as she's rising through the ranks to try to fulfill her plan, she is tasked to do a lot of monstrous duties. And so she begins to question her motives a bit, but there are side characters along the way that start to help her with her plan. I also thought that was a really interesting part too, was the people that allied themselves with Sloane and what you found out about them and their histories. Also, giving a synopsis reminded me that the politics in here are very interesting and very well done. If I'm not mistaken, they are slightly based off the Nigerian Civil War and the child soldiers in Nigeria. So that's the hard part about this, is like, because I'm such a character-driven reader, this isn't like a 5 stars for me, but I think in theory it could have been. And so like I completely understand why people love this book and give it 5 stars, but I just was not connected to the characters at all. It then becomes really hard for me to become invested in the plot, which sucks because I hate that my brain is that way, but that is how it is. So anyway, they're starting yard work. I don't know if I explained myself that well, but yeah, I'm giving this a 3.5 stars. Hello, the lighting is kind of bad in here because it's actually gloomy out. The other day it rained a little bit and I was very excited, and now it's kind of gloomy out, which is very weird for Southern California. So I wanted to update you because last night I started Radio Silence and I ended up getting like 40, almost 50% into the book. I don't think it's for me, and that's just like something I've been thinking about while reading both of these books. I think had I read this late teens, even in my, early 20s, I probably would have really connected to this and loved it. I think that it's just hard for me to want to read / pick up a book like this these days. I see the value in this book and I understand why this would be recommended to me personally, but also why people love it and recommend it continuously and say that it's very emotionally impactful. It's mainly the friendship aspects in here and the fact that this is one of the few, I think, YA contemporary books where there isn't a romance that unfolds. And I think that Alice Oseman is really well known for breaking that mold within YA contemporary, which is really great. I just don't think that I like Alice Oseman's writing very much. And this is interesting because I've heard this. I've heard that people who love Heartstopper don't like Alice Oseman's like full-length novels very much. The only two standouts that I've seen are Loveless and Radio Silence, and I haven't read either. I'm reading Radio Silence right now. I don't know what it is. I just like don't really like the writing style very much. And again, I've said this before, I don't often care about writing style. Writing style doesn't always dictate whether or not I like a book. Like, I can get past things, but there's something about this writing style that really takes me out of the story. I was really hoping that I would get the experience with this, like The Weight of Our Stars, because that book just messed me up. Like, I was sobbing. I actually think I did read it for Read It Down. I think I read it for Rachel's Read It Down, actually, because she didn't like one of Kay Ingram's books. So I read one. I read a different one. Yeah, I thought that I would get that same experience from this just based off the way that people talk about it. And yeah, it's not doing that for me, but it's also not a bad book. I think it would be like 3 stars at this point. And I think that's just something with me these days, maybe. I feel like I'm talking a lot about like me and YA, but maybe that's because I'm really coming to terms with me and YA books. It's funny, I was talking to Christine about this literally this weekend. We went to the bookstore, we were looking at the YA section, and we were talking about how I've come to realize the YA that I love, I have to stick to, and I can't keep buying like YA fantasies and stuff knowing that it's just not gonna work for me anymore. I don't know what it is about this one that's not like hitting all the marks for me, other than maybe the writing, like I said before, and I'm just not able to like get into the story the way that I want to right now. And I've actually been putting off this book for a while, so we're pretty far into November. But I've been on a book buying ban for months, so it doesn't really matter. It's a self-imposed one. It's not even about Read It Down anymore. I'm trying not to buy any more books for the rest of the year unless it's a new release, but I only have like 2 more new releases that I even would be purchasing at this point. So I'm just on a book buying ban until the end of the year. I wanted to address that this Read It Down will probably be a lot shorter than most Read It Downs because I've not wanted to be in front of the camera. It's been only more recently that I've been okay with doing vlog updates throughout my life, and I love vlogging, so it's been a really weird mental health time for me. Work has been really hard, and it just progressively has been getting harder as time goes by, and which sucks because I just hit my year at this particular library. So there's that, and then it's just like, I don't know. I feel weird, I feel off all the time. I wasn't really in the mood to film B-roll. And so I think that leads me to the conclusion that next year when I do Read It Down, I think I want to do it every other month instead of monthly. Just because there are some times when I do feel like this throughout the year and filming vlogs is just really hard. when I'm in that mindset, and doing sit down videos is a little bit easier, which is super funny because I think I've said it before on this channel. I don't really know. I actually hate filming sit down videos. I love vlogging. Vlogging is like my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite thing to watch. I just feel so much more creative with my videos when I can vlog. Whereas with a sit down video, I have to listen to my voice for a really long time. It just becomes too much. Anyway, I don't want to get like super deep into that because I just wanted to explain why this Read It Down would probably be a little bit shorter and doesn't have a lot of B-roll in it. And wanting to be on camera has been really hard. So yeah, I'm sorry that this is A, really late. It's going to be a really late Read It Down. And B, there's not a lot of footage in here. A plane is going by right as I started this. I am about to go into work, and today I have my first second grade book club, and we read Hair Love. Well, they should have read Hair Love, but if they haven't, then I normally read it to them at the beginning, and I'm showing them the 6-minute little short that was made from that book. And then the really exciting thing, which I have to prep right before they get in, I'm giving them these little self-portrait things. Another plane. Anyway, I'm giving them these little self-portraits. It got cut off at the top, but I don't have the energy to fix that, and I doubt that they'll care. But anyway, it's gonna be their little faces. And then I have a bunch of it, like different colors. A lot of them don't like mimic real hair because we didn't have that, you know? We're a library. We don't have a lot. But I have like yarn in a bunch of different colors. And this is what I need to prep. I need to cut it like different lengths so that it's easy for them to like grab different lengths and make hair. And then they get to draw their face and like do fun things. I have a bunch of different other crafts. And then while they're doing that, they get to tell me things that they love about themselves. So that's what I'm prepping for today at work, which it usually stresses me out a little bit because I never know how many kids I'm gonna get. So I always have to like over prep first. And secondly, I don't know if they're gonna be entertained by this craft. So then I have to like come up with other ideas to sustain the 45 minutes just in case they do not give a shit about this craft. Anyway, that's what's on my brain today. But I also wanted to update you because I finished Radio Silence and I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's a 5 stars. It didn't hit me the way that I think it hit Darian, which is why this is probably a beloved book. I know that like Yasmin, I think Rachel, who doesn't make YouTube videos anymore, but she used to. She did a whole video reading Radio Silence and how it like changed her. And I wish I had that experience. But like I said in my last clip, I feel like I'm slowly but surely having a breakup with YA. And I've never been like a big YA contemporary reader outside of like queer coming of age YA books. So I'm just like trying to cope with that. It sounds so dramatic, but YA is really what got me back into reading after so long of not reading, and YA books were also what got me through some really hard times when I lost family members and was a caretaker to some of my family members. So I was reading a lot during that time because I use reading to disassociate. Another plane. There's somebody in the parking lot who is actually a coworker, so I'm pretending to do things so that's not super awkward. They're still in the parking lot. I can't do it. I gotta go. Oh my god, they just left. Okay. So Radio Silence is about a teenager named Frances, and she's like very high achieving. She is pretty sure she's gonna go to like a pretty prestigious school. As a matter of fact, I think at the beginning she's already like aware that that's what's gonna happen. But in reality, even though she's putting education first, like her biggest passion is art, and she's obsessed with this podcast, and she gets the opportunity to kind of meet the creator and work with the creator. But within that opportunity, some things come to light for her, and it's very coming of age. The thing that I will say that made this more of a 3 stars for me than anything else is there isn't a romance in here. There's no forced romance. It's all about friendship. And I really, really loved that aspect. And I think that's why it hit so many people in a different way than a lot of contemporary YA books, because there isn't this forced romance. It's not surrounding a romance. It's really genuinely a coming of age. Like, she's going into college, she's trying to figure her life out and her passions, and like, is she taking the steps towards her future because they're what she wants or what she thinks other people want for her. And it's a really great exploration of finding yourself and finding friendship. And I think that had I read this, especially at the end of my high school years or even the beginning of college, like, this would have done something to me. I do feel like it probably would have hit me so much differently than in the place I'm at now in my life. But I do think like the friendship aspect of it definitely made this a better read for me as well, because I do love books that explore friendship. So I think that this book is really special because that's not the case. Like, it's not forcing this romance on you. It's very much about friendship and platonic friendships. I would give this a 3 stars. And I think that I recommend it to people who really love YA contemporary, but especially coming of age.
Talk about it, but you're my muse. So if you hear me calling out to you with a telepathic message, baby, you know what to do.
Hello. I don't know anymore. I don't really know. But what I do know is that this is the end of episode 9 of Read It Down. Thank you so much, Darian, for being a part of Read It Down. I really appreciate you agreeing to do this. I'm so sorry that this was the sad vlog of all of the Read It Downs. You deserve better, Darian. So Darian came out with a 3 and a 3.5, which actually puts her exactly in the middle. Since there have been 9 people, there are 4 above her and 4 below her. She is literally right in the middle, which is amazing. So I'm gonna try to put all of that on screen right here. So this is the ranking so far. I finally figured out what I'm doing with the ranking system. So in December, you will get 2 special videos, and those are gonna be related to this ranking system. I guess I'll mention, even though I'm pretty sure it's very obvious, it is like mid-November. Why do I keep saying November? It's mid-October. I think I said November earlier too. It is mid-October and I've clearly failed Read It Down. I think I finished Radio Silence like a week or so ago. I've been really behind on video stuff. Anyway, point being, I've failed. I'm on a book buying ban. Am I gonna buy another book by the end of the year? We'll see. I only have like 1 other book coming out that I'm kind of interested in buying, purchasing. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Please go subscribe to Darian and show her some love. And if you want to, you can leave. What kind of emoji are we feeling today? What are we feeling? Leave a fire emoji in the comments because my life is on fire. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.